Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. It's James here, familiar face for you all from Grad Connection. And I'm joined today by Michael and Nathan, both from meetyoo. I'll introduce them properly in a moment or two. We'll just give people a chance to get here. We're all set for a packed session this afternoon. Just give people a few more minutes to arrive. Welcome. If you're just joining us, you've got to the right place. This is all about the virtual fair hosted by Grad Connection in partnership with meetyoo. And we'll kick off properly this afternoon. So I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, work and live today, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, celebrating the diversity of the Aboriginal peoples and their ongoing cultures and connections to the lands and waters of this place we now call Australia. Welcome everyone. Thanks for your punctuality this afternoon. My name is James, Client Services Director at Grad Connection, in case you haven't met me before, but I think you've all seen my mug over the last 9 months on so many webinars. I'm joined this afternoon by Michael and Nathan. Michael is kindly joined us. Are you in Spain still?
Yes, in Tenerife actually, yes.
In Tenerife. Yeah, Michael's joined us at hence 4 o'clock our afternoon. Is the perfect time of day for him to be joining us from Tenerife. So thank you, Michael, one of the directors at meetyoo, to talk to us about technology this afternoon. Nathan is based in Sydney and he is our project manager working with us to deliver these events from now until 2021. So before I hand over to Michael and Nathan for a bit of a kind of tech demo, we're all excited to see what that looks like this afternoon. I will give everybody an update of where we're at with the logistics for the event. I'm pleased to say that we have now got 30 employers all committed to the technology. And as of today, I will be able to announce the names of the universities next week. We also have 2 universities committed to running the technology, leveraging it for their own exclusive days. So just to remind you, if you're joining us and you haven't already signed up, there are some deadlines in place. Our early bird offer for booths, so that is for employers to commit to the technology to be at the 3 public days. And if they would like the additional days for universities, the early bird offer ends on December 17. That's a Thursday. So feel free to reach out to myself or your account manager if you are not in conversation around that already. That's all the kind of housekeeping from me. If there are questions, please do use the Q&A feature or the chat feature this afternoon. I'll be fielding them to the meetyoo team as we kind of go through, but we'll start with quite an in-depth demonstration of the technology. So everybody should kind of get a feel for what we can expect. Over to you. Thank you.
Wonderful, James, and good afternoon to everyone here from beautiful island of Tenerife. Yes, it's very early, but I'm really happy to be here. A little bit of background myself. So I actually have lived 10 years in Australia. So I'm very close to Australia, which is one of the reasons why we are happy to support that together with Nathan. We've worked together before when I was in Australia, and we are actually planning to return there. So hopefully, but at the moment, as you know, it's very difficult to get into the country and a very particular situation. So that makes it a little bit harder. But look, with all the online ways and digital communication, it's a lot easier. So it's really my great pleasure to give you an introduction into the meetyoo platform, which is really the premium platform, Germany-based, more than 10 years on the market already. Yeah, so it's not one of these newcomers which just came around the corner when COVID hit, but it's really kind of well-established and already long in the market, well-established technology, obviously in terms of data privacy, highest standards, all these kind of things you can expect from a good German software. And so James is smiling. So I'm really pleased now to give you kind of the overview, and then we are here to answer any questions. so that you have a good perspective and view what the platform can do. Just to give you an idea, so meetyoo ran actually almost close to 50 events last year in 2019. So even ahead of kind of the pandemic, digital events were something kind of relatively normal. I actually started running virtual events and virtual summits back in 2015. Then at the time out of Australia, so-called virtual summits. I wrote a book about it. So there's a lot of experience already, and which we bring to the table here. So meetyoo last year, almost 50 events, but to give you kind of a perspective how things have changed, only in October 2020, so previous month or 2 months ahead, we had close to 50 events in 1 month. Yeah, so this is kind of the scale. Things are changing now, and a lot of major organizations, and you will see a few of them are using this platform now to run either their internal events like management. So I did one event for Daimler, for example, which everybody knows, only for the IT management team of Daimler, which is more than 1,000 people just in IT management. In this organization. So we ran a large internal global event. We ran one for Deutsche Bahn, so the railway company, 500 top HR managers there, again, which we ran on the platform, where we had discussions with boards and so on. So that's one big area. So it's internal management meetings, sales meetings, kickoffs. We have now Christmas parties, obviously, digital in a digital version. So all of that is happening. The other big area is universities and career fairs, so this is really where I show you some great examples. And the third area is really kind of, if you like, B2B environments where, for example, partner meetings, sales meetings, and things like that. Each of these, and that's only a few examples, but these are the most prominent examples and the ones we run the most. So that's kind of as an introduction. Let's go into actually the matter, if you like. So I'm going to share my screen now. Let me know if you can see it. Well, yeah, that's great. Thank you for that. So this is, so what basically meetyoo is, there's two key components. There's a lot of components and elements, and we always try to be as flexible as possible and really try to address kind of the needs of the clients. And because there's a lot of different functionalities. Also, the platform is, of course, evolving. Yeah, so I mean, it was well established, a good set of functionalities, but now kind of we are getting a lot of feedback and kind of new requirements, so that the whole thing is actually further improving, which is really great to see from the already very high level. And one of the keys, so there's two key elements. One is, you see here, is the visual. Yeah, so it's a very visually appealing and intuitive environment. So it's really, you feel like you are in Berlin. You see here kind of the Berlin background on the right side. Yeah, so this is where meetyoo is head office. So you have a lot of options here, and you see a lot more in the presentation. So that's one key feature. The other key feature is actually the back end, which is kind of under the hood, obviously. So meetyoo has a very, very powerful and very scalable own streaming platform. You know, it's a streaming professional streaming company, and this helps. And this helps in terms of obviously scaling, and we have at the moment thousands and tens of thousands participants each week, on the platform at the same time, without any kind of challenges and problems. I mean, everything is kind of managed in the background, but it's fully scalable, which is a key other function. So it's really kind of the visual front end, and the powerful back end in terms of that streaming. So these are the two key components, but there's a lot more to it. So what you see here is a typical main hall of an event. Yeah. So and this is one of the templates we have, and there's two approaches. There's either a template approach. So we have 3 or 4 really nice looking, great looking templates, and you'll see a few of those. But we also have the option to have an individual design, which you can do basically anything you want with the platform. So you always start in something like the main hall, and there are a few features in the main hall which are typical. So you can, for example, typically have a welcome video here, which you can see here on the top. So you click there and it's playing. It's playing from our streaming platform in max in full size if we want. Yeah, so this is one, and that really comes from the platform. We always have the information booth in the main hall, and we come back to the booths because that's another key feature later on. But when I click here, I'm actually zoomed into the information booth. You can see that the background is correct, and you see someone standing here. That's one of the famous avatars. So this is actually Marie-Christine, our International Business Development Manager. And basically, this is actually a picture of her. So that's really an avatar picture of her. This is what we call an avatar. So the avatars are linked to booths, and we have one here, and then you can click. And because it's that early, so even in Germany, it's now 6 a.m. She's not awake yet. Well, she might be awake, but not online yet. So you can actually leave her a message. Yeah, so a subject line and a message, and she will receive that via email. When she's online, we can actually interact with her. So that's kind of the information booth, which is always in the main hall. The other element you always have in the main hall is a networking launch. So chat functionality is obviously a key aspect of the whole interaction. And you see this is a very busy, because it's kind of our main demo environment. So there have been a lot of people in the chat, but they're all offline except of Marco. So Marco is now online at the moment. He's a colleague. So I can click on him. And again, I have a couple of options. So I can text chat with him one-on-one. I can actually video chat with him. So I can click here, and then basically a video one-on-one call is established with him. I can also look at his profile. Oh, no, he's not sharing that at the moment. So again, this can be set up. So you can see here, but you can also click on other people and basically theoretically kind of start the chat, but they are offline. So they would see that when they are back online. So this is kind of the main hall networking chat, which is typically there. You have things like a feedback. You could add other videos here. And then there are two other kind of entry halls here. There's one, and when you think about kind of a physical environment, you have always presentations and sessions, and you always have kind of an exhibition area. We have the auditorium, which again is the one of the strong elements of that platform. So we can actually work with kind of any format, which we then upload to the platform. So the way how it works, we upload the videos provided if they are pre-recorded onto our platform, so they are optimized actually for viewing experiences. We support any kind of actual current browsers, any device, so that works. Everything works there. And now you have this one is basically typically an on-demand after the event. So where you have different presentations. And then you basically click. Yeah, so for example, you have presenter training. So this would be one. I'll just show you. So it takes a moment to basically kick that off. So this is one. This is Tim, our product manager, who is actually giving you training. So this is one. You can also have then live panel discussions. So this is, I mean, one of the other key components of meetyoo is we're seeing a lot of hybrid conferences at the moment, where we have one stage and the rest is online. We also see fully online versions and everything in between. So I've done basically everything in between. So you can have somewhere a studio setting, which is then streamed. We can have, which is one of the other key feature here, is this one actually. So we can actually, on our platform, we can separate slides from video. Yeah, so this is a key component. So you have slides here, which you can actually, one of the things you can do, you can actually make them large or small, like this. So it's the viewer basically decides how they want to look at look at it. And you also have the opportunity for subtitles, as you can see here. So we are supporting here the typical SRT subtitle files, which are basically then mapped to the video. So this is kind of another key function, is the separation. So if you want to separate kind of slides and video, it is the way to go. You don't have to do it, as you've seen before. So this is kind of this is a live one. I'll show you one other with slides here. Again, this is now a webcam, so this is all online. Yeah. So again, you see the slides here, and you see the webcam here in a separate window. Where here, what I showed you before is basically so this is all in one. So here it's more a kind of a picture in the picture. So you don't have to separate that. It's just a nice option to do. Yeah. So here you can, I mean, you still have some subtitles here. So that's the auditorium. So there's a lot to do here. One other thing I'll come back to is a key question, is the question and answers. This is also used for question and answer sessions. And imagine you have, I mean, we had, for example, recently a few university sessions. One had over 1,000 participants in one session, listening and asking questions, and we had more than 400 questions coming in. Yeah, so this is kind of the auditorium ask questions, and I show you how that's done. And then basically in the backend, you can actually select, consolidate, and decide which questions to answer, and then you answer via the webcam or the video, which is very powerful, which is really made for these huge Q&A sessions like universities have. But also, I mentioned these management meetings before with 1,000 or 500 participants. Again, perfect to having Q&A sessions with the board. So where the board basically answers the questions, and the employees or managers are basically submitting those questions. So this is kind of one key functionality here. And then we have the other element is really the exhibition area. This is a very small exhibition area. I'll show you others. These are only free booths because these are only our own booths. So meetyoo has free product lines. So the event space, regular webcasts, which you can actually use quite nicely, and audio events, which are still kind of used today. So this is kind of a smaller one, but I'll show you a nicer one, not a nicer one, but a larger one later on. So that's kind of the key functionalities. Now let's move to other examples. One is obviously a huge one, which I ran again from Europe with the University of Adelaide, their open day. So obviously all universities, especially also in not only in Australia, but especially also in Australia, is the challenge to actually present the university, to potential students, especially from overseas. And so Adelaide went actually a different path than kind of the classical path, within, if you like, an extra layer, because they really wanted to showcase the university, also the look and feel of the university to the future student. Extremely successful event. We had a couple of thousand registrants and constant flow of participants over the day. And so what they did, they started actually with this as the first image. So you can see here, this is basically an image, kind of an aerial photograph of the university, which is a really nice way to showcase, obviously. But they went even further. So one of the things we did here was actually we created or redesigned the key buildings. So let's go to the health and medical science. So you click here on this building. And this is not a photo, this is redesigned. So for example, this enter here you won't find in reality, but this gives the students a real good impression how the university actually looks like. So when they are actually in Adelaide, they will say, I've been there, I've seen that before. So it's really that feeling. One funny story here, initially our designers, which is kind of European design team, had the cars on the right side, and then someone actually spotted that ahead of time, that they need to obviously drive on the left side, which was quite funny. I mean, the type of cars is probably right for Australia, but they were on the right, on the wrong side, so we put them on the left side, which was a funny story. And then from here you can go actually into this faculty. But I'll show you, before we do that, I show you just one other, so that you get a little bit of an idea. It's all designed, yeah, so that's all individually designed. Again here, basically a really nice area which was used as a chat area. Yeah, so you see kind of the brochure where you see some clothes here, for example, which are branded and things like that. So this is not a typical one, but this is how Adelaide basically presented themselves. They also had then recreated their hub. So this is now the main hall, which you've seen from before. So from the functionality, very similar, but obviously individually designed. Yeah, so you have the information booth, again, very similar from a functionality point of view. But it's like here, it's Liz. She was my counterpart. Again, that's yeah. So we say here a little bit of a text because she's kind of not active. This event was in August, but I want to show you because you can put timetables in here, some additional information, things like that. But they also added, for example, virtual tours. Yeah, so virtual tours is actually then going into an auditorium. Again, you see that from before, it's kind of branded for you. And you see here, for example, drone overflies. So again, they use this element to really showcase the university. It's really beautifully done. That's not meetyoo. We only then provided kind of the platform to actually show these videos, which you can actually have here. And then we had these halls. I start with the left side, the talks here. We had, and I go in there. We had actually 70 talks throughout the days in parallel. So yeah, you can imagine. So here I have the timetables, which gives you a good perspective. So we have 70 talks in parallel. So from 9:30, that's Australian time, to 4 p.m. Yeah. So some of them were repeat, obviously, but you had 8 venues and talks throughout the day. Yeah, so it was a very, very busy day, and every of the sessions were pre-recorded with live Q&A sessions. So actually the staff of each of the faculties were actually there to answer questions for the of the students. So that was a massive event, which we had there. Oops, there we go. And we had this in these venues. All these venues are now obviously on demand. Again, you've seen that before. Yeah, so you have all these on-demand sessions now, which were available for the time afterwards. So these were all these venues, a big kind of a big event basically here. We then let's go here to the other side. This is where the expo halls are. And we had obviously all the faculties, and you can, via navigation, you can go into each of the faculties. But we also have here general hubs and expo halls. And you see this is a very different large expo hall. Yeah, so we have 9 booths here. They are actually template booths. And you see here, for example, study overseas. So when I click in there, I'm actually going into the booth. And I'm showing you a little bit the booth now. So this is one of the standard booths, and there's a few functionalities in this. We already saw the video, which you can add. We then have brochures, so you can here download various brochures. In this case, it's kind of a study overseas flyer and Global IQ Connect flyer. People then can either rate that, they can open or download it, and they can actually save it, which is really nice. So I would click here and it's added to the briefcase. I get a notification. It's added here to the briefcase, which means I can come back later onto the platform and actually download things. So they will remain here for me to download later on. We then have here typically on the counter a monitor, which has all the links contained. So kind of Instagram and Facebook and YouTube links and things like that. Again, you can download the links. Basically what happens is the link is saved into the briefcase. You see here now documents and links, and then you can actually go there afterwards. And then obviously the interaction with the avatar. is you can, well, if the avatar is online, you can basically directly interact with the avatar, either in chat, if you want, in video chat. For events like this, we are not doing that typically because it's so busy that actually kind of people do not have the time to video chat. So therefore, we can actually disallow and disable the video chat function for this booth personnel, so they can focus on the text chats. And then you have here on the left side, you have the booth chat. This is the general booth chat. So everyone who actually joins the booth is in the booth chat, and you see here there is a lot of chat kind of, yeah, which happened. There's nobody online obviously right now, but this is kind of where the open chat is happening, where you can interact then with the staff at the booth. So this is kind of the key functionalities of the booth. One word about the avatars. So the concept is the following. So you have, if no one is online, you have the so-called offline avatar, which is basically you leave a message. But then you have behind that, you have a pool of online avatars. And that can be, let's say, 5 or 6 typically. And then the system basically picks, for every visitor to the booth, picks one of the available online avatars. That's important. So for the available online avatars. So when the staff personnel is logged into the platform, they are online, they're available, and then they are shown here at that booth, and then you can actually interact with that avatar. What I'll do now, I'll switch, because I have one other or 2 other events I want to show you, and then we'll open for the question and answers. This one was a recent one, again, a university. This is kind of a template main hall. You see all these elements, yeah, kind of information booth, networking launch, and then various exhibition halls. I show you that just so you can see how multiple organizations can look like. So this is another exhibition hall, and you see that there's a lot of universities, but these can also be obviously different companies. Yeah, so I mean, in this case, you have all the you as all the potential employers, which then get your logo and then individually designed booths with your look and feel. So even though they are kind of template, and in this case, yeah.
We can still see the booth.
Oh, okay. Then let me just kind of start sharing again. That's okay. Better now?
Yep, that's got it. Thanks.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So this is kind of another exhibition hall, and I showed you because you see different organizations in here. Yeah, so it's lots of organizations. Yes, they decided they all have the same format of the booth. Yeah, so the curve, as we call it, but even then, each booth looks different. Yeah, so the look and feel is quite different, because the colors are different. The background image is different, the logo is different. So this gives kind of each booth an own flavor of that the corporate identity. Yeah, so yeah, so you see here another background, another avatar here. Veronica, for example, is here. Again, a different color coding, a logo. So these are the elements where our design team basically creates a unique experience and the corporate identity experience, which is really important. But you still see, I mean, in this case, and they did that because it's a massive event again, and for simplification reasons, they kind of decided for the same standard booth format in each of the for each of the participants. So, and we have of those, we have basically 3 exhibition halls. So again, if you want to see then basically who is where, this is where they created this hall. So you can see actually who is in which hall. Again, you can yeah. So that gives you kind of a quick perspective, and then you can actually visit the ones. Again, a very successful event. All of these universities were extremely busy during the event. We had a couple of thousand registrations, and they were actually constantly chatting and very happy with the results, because typically what we see, which is also interesting with these online events, they are the quality of the discussion is very high. Yeah, so it's really kind of the people coming in who are really interested in this university and asking very specific questions. That's why it works very well. Let me see. So this, by the way, this was another event for the University of Adelaide. This is where they presented 260 projects, student projects, to the visitors. This was Nathan was running that as a project, so you see here the slightly different approach. When you go in here again, you see this exhibition hall, and in this case, you have a very different booth, because we had, I mean, 260 projects was a lot. So we had actually a few projects in one booth, if you like. So there's only one person standing, and then you have 5 projects, each of them with a video, and then actually a PDF, a poster, basically a project poster. So there was another one. And the last one I want to show you, that's not only universities. So I showed you kind of a few different scenarios, but also, for example, the European Union ran a major event, which I did. So you have, I mean, I'm doing actually a Christmas party for the European police on the platform, which is really fun because they go for the beachy feeling. So that's also fun in terms of designing and working with them together. But the European Union ran their Green Week. And this is an individual design again. So really successful. I mean, even Ms. van der Leyen, the head of kind of the European Commission, was actually giving a presentation and a speech here. So really very high caliber, and you see that kind of same kind of elements in here. Yeah, so exhibition and conference rooms, but they had, for example, 4 different rooms, auditoriums in parallel. So one main auditorium and then a couple of rooms. There was a lot of parallel sessions going on again, and now. Let me go into the, and this was largely, there was a stage actually in Brussels, and you see this individually designed, really nice. And here's, by the way, this is kind of one way in individual design. So when you click there, you can actually then ask a question. I show you that in 1 second as a final one. This is now the on-demand. So all these things, you had really interesting discussions. A lot was virtual, so all online. Via webcam, but they also had a stage. So the opening session, a new beginning, and obviously this kind of starts playing on the screen, but you can easily maximize that. So I'll just kind of turn so you can maximize that. But you see here, he's standing on a real stage. Yeah, and so this was a stage, so hybrid. So there was a team actually in Brussels. But then we can combine that also with, for example, a multiple online version. So you can do a lot of things very, very highly flexible, and then it's streamed onto the platform. So final one, I go into this one. This is another demo, but I want to show you just one quick thing. So this is kind of, you see that, you saw that before, but this is here an ask a question button. So this is how it works. I basically put a question in here. The classical one, yeah. So and this question is then sent into the backend, and then the backend can consolidate, and then basically the answering of the question is happening here via the video, the video chat. So this is kind of the tour, a quick tour across a various number of events and functionalities. Booth. So what I want to do now is kind of stop sharing for now and answer a few questions, and I can obviously go back to the sessions. Very good. So James, how do you want to do that? I see there's probably a few in the chat. So shall I just go through the chat?
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds good, Michael. Thank you so much.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. You see, I'm really passionate about, I'm not only events, I mean, I'm really doing kind of virtual events since 2015. Not all the time, full time, but I've done a lot in various formats, various platforms. And I really love the meetyoo platform because it's so I mean, it's really, it's a high-profile, high-end platform. That's one in terms of scalability and possibilities, and a very highly professional team. I mean, it's one of the best teams I've ever seen in terms of the technical team and so on. So it's a really nice kind of way to do it, and that's why also, I mean, I said I'm coming back to Australia, and actually will focus on running these events going forward also, even more in Australia. Look, let's kind of so some of them, yes, 3 booth styles. So there's basically there's a set of standard booths, and then you can pick off from them, and Red Connection actually picked 3 of them, and then showcase, and then you can basically pick one of them and then you can provide your corporate identity input. Do we find chats in these virtual summits to be more text-based rather than? That's a great question, Dominic. Thank you for that. I would say there's both. We see the video chat function is relatively new, but used a lot as one-on-one chats. They are used, and we can have hundreds of video chats in parallel on the platform at the same time. But there's a lot, especially when it's a busy. Really depends a little bit on the format. If you have in your case for Great Connection is more what I would call a B2C event, because you have potential new employees coming, so that's like similar to students, and so they you will have a lot of kind of parallel conversations, and you will have a lot of text chats happening on the platform. So but there will be the option of video chats as well. But typically these booths are becoming very busy, and you can run, let's say, 3 or 4 parallel text chats, but you cannot do, I mean, you cannot do parallel video chats. That's obviously not working. So yeah, thank you. So thanks, Madeleine. Yes, I mean, it's amazing what the design team is really capable of doing. I mean, you saw the Green Week, you saw the University of Adelaide, but there's a lot of other things. Actually, I want to show you one more thing. As an inspiration, if I may. This one. So you can actually also use that for other events, like a Christmas market, like a digital Christmas party. And we're actually using this particular one I created myself. I'm not a designer, so yeah. So I have a team who's designing. But I created this setup and the whole idea to have a digital Christmas party actually there, and so you see here a few elements, but I wanted to show you that, and I'll do one thing quickly. Let me just kind of log in. There we go. So and there are a few elements in here. So you see again the chat, but there's also another one which I want to show you, which is basically a breakout session, which is very much like the like a Zoom or a Teams or anything like that. But we have that integrated into the platform. You see that now, and you would see all the windows, but it's in the platform. You see this frame still, yeah. So it all happens in the platform, which is really nice. And when you actually leave, you're still in the platform, so you're not leaving the platform. Then we have a Christmas stage here where we have a presentation. In this case, that's actually my wife, because what we did, we actually decided to use this setup as a Christmas present to our kind of parents, so kind of the grandparents of our children, because one daughter is actually living in Melbourne and one in Berlin. And so we created kind of this this Christmas present over 24 days, and this is the welcome message to them. And then we have the booth here. We have created actually a Christmas booth. So I got this designed, and you see here Santa Claus is actually in the booth, and you can actually now interact with him. And I'll show you how that works. Should be, oh no, sorry. 1 second. I give you once, let me spare a moment. There we go. So now I can interact. there we go. In this case, so it's Michael Alf, Santa Claus. I can do a text chat, so I can actually start chatting with Santa Claus, and I can actually video chat with him. So the way it works, just to show you kind of that video call now, it's initiating a call, and just need to kind of switch to here. So I accept that, and then the video is established. Well, I'll turn that off because it's kind of echoing. But just to give you kind of the way how kind of the video call works, and the one-on-one chat basically just works kind of a one-on-one chat. You see here Christmas booth. It's now talking to myself, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but just to show you, this is not for demo purposes. Just so I wanted to show you. So even this is possible. So it's really kind of the Christmas feeling, kind of winter feeling. And so you can do all kind of things. I thought I'll show you that as well, and at the same time also how it works with the booth. So let's kind of stop sharing here. What's the average duration of this? So great questions. We have everything from, let's say, I'd say 3-4 hours to 3 days. Or more. I mean, European Union, EU Green Week had, I think, 2.5 days fully packed with presentation. It was really a tough one. A lot of the events are one-day events, and you can easily do 6-7 hours. Look, I've done now a total of probably 3 dozen events since March, April. And I've seen everything in terms of number of people, participants, from only 100 to 5,000 to 50. I think the biggest one was even more with Deutsche Telekom, and duration as well. What is fascinating, because a lot of people say, oh, long events do not work, and we do rerun events where people stay for hours actually on the platform. Yeah, and this is really depending on the content. I mean, if people want to see something and want to learn something, yeah, and it's interesting, then they stay. Yeah, and they stay for. I mean, we all staying nowadays 5-6 hours on Zoom calls and other calls. So it's not this is not the problem. If the quality of the content is there, people will stay, and if they are able to interact, then they will stay. Log in more from the PCs, laptops. Yeah.
I'll just say about our specific events on the 5th, 9th and 12th of March. They'll be open from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. Sydney time. And to the digital backpack or the briefcase, the student visitor will be able to go in and revisit that content for 90 days after the event.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for clarifying. Yeah, sorry, because I'm in the chat, so I see there's a Q&A button as well, so I'll come back to that in a moment. Yeah, thank you. Let's address kind of the last question in the chat quickly, and then I'll switch. So look, it's a mix. We see mobile devices as well. Obviously, it's a very visual environment. If you do that on a phone, it becomes smaller, yeah, with everything. Ideally, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can. I think James may have dropped.
Okay. Yes, yeah, okay. No, he's stalled here, so I was just going to think if it's me. So we see it's a mix. I would say, I mean, if with a tablet you get a very good experience. Obviously, with smartphone, it becomes a lot smaller. Yeah, I mean, we make sure that, for example, the exhibition halls, they do not have more than 10 booths in there, because that becomes otherwise too small to actually navigate on a mobile device. That's one of the reasons. Yeah, it becomes squishy. So therefore, we limit that to 10 in an exhibition hall, and that's why you saw Virtual Orange. You had 3 exhibition halls, and this was the main reason for that. So let me just switch to the Q&A section. Yeah, so I showed you the video chat, how that's requested. There's no queue yet. Yes, so the volume can get high. That's why we turn it off if on request. Yeah, so typically for large events with lots of traffic, that's turned off. Can we client who owns the event undertake this? Customization. So in terms of customization, there's a booth customization. So you deliver basically the input, and the design team creates kind of the booth. So yes, we are setting things up. As a quick introduction demo for students. It's a good question. Usually we don't need it. I mean, we have thousands of students, especially students on that, and it's very intuitive and very easy to use. Some events, especially in the B2B, they actually create a how-to video, and then so which is then in the main hall somewhere or at the information booth. But typically, I mean, students, this generation is actually, I mean, they are better than kind of we are. So, and they are actually quite comfortable moving around.
Yes.
For
I will just say on that, Michael.
Yeah.
Grad Connection will be creating some videos to support students and navigating around and planning their time in the technology.
Nice, thank you. Thanks, James. That's great. So for an employer to set up their booth and what info do they require? So we'll come back to that. So we'll define exactly what you need, how you deliver that. We have configurators. We are actually setting up the booth. So you only have to deliver the input and we do everything for you. So that's part of the package. And then you have an opportunity to review, but we'll do a separate session, obviously, to kind of introduce that, but that's all taken care of, and it's a very structured approach, and Nathan does a brilliant job in that. We have the option to easily change, rotate, or down. We have the option to changing brochures. Typically no. So you have a set of documents which you put up, and you can have, I mean, multiple documents. I think up to 10 typically in the standard setup, which can be basically PDFs and others, and also links. They are basically at the booth available. Plugin capabilities for a barrier-free experience will be ready. Yeah, so there is plugin. So I mean, there's a we're working with, I don't know, James, if you want to answer that from Volker. Barrier free, would it be barrier free? And this is a single sign-on approach, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So for the 3 public events, we're working really closely with the meetyoo team to make sure that if a student already has a Grad Connection profile, they would not be required to create a new profile in order to register. They can simply say that they'd like to be part of the careers fair, and that will happen. So for the individual, if universities are running exclusive days on the leveraged partnership that we have with meetyoo, it may well be possible to do the SSO piece, but we'd need to take that up offline with individual universities. Thank you, Volker.
Yeah, that's a good question. So yes, we have SSO capability, which can be basically set up separately, and then you have the seamless integration. The other alternative is a registration page, which we are setting up. Good. Any other questions? I responded to that from Haley.
I think there's one more on the chat, Michael.
We've got, so Natalie, did we say 10 booths per exhibition?
Yes, yeah. So basically
we'll be organizing, Natalie, the employer in clusters.
So basically, let me just go back here. So when we can use any exhibition hall for that. But here, for example, we have 2 exhibition halls. The reason is we are limiting the number of booths in one exhibition hall to 10. I think this is 10. Yeah. So again, otherwise it gets too squishy, too busy. And this is again, I mean, that's an individually designed, but it's similar. It's with the logo. And then you have these really nice looking booths. That's not a standard booth, obviously, but this is kind of how that looks like. But here are not more than 10, which then basically means we need more than one exhibition hall. And again, given the envisaged size of the Grad Connection event, we are working closely with James in terms of the flow yeah, and the user experience to give kind of the users the best experience. I mean, this what you've seen here is kind of a very straight kind of, sorry, a straightforward way, but we're working on different models and options to kind of support the flow.
I think I'll just add to that, Michael. Thank you. It's one of those things that we will be planning right up until the last minute, really, until we know exactly the nature of the employers. I think already it looks like we'll have at least accounting exhibition halls.
Yeah, and then we might have actually areas in between, and then link from there. Yeah, so that really depends on the final number, so that we can optimize the flow, and then actually work with the design team to actually optimize this flow.
Yep, of course.
Good.
Yeah, yes, Natalie, thank you. I think that is all the questions. Did we answer? Would we have the option to easily change or rotate downloadable content throughout the event?
Yes, I explained that. This is not easily doable. So we have a set element of documents and links for the event.
Yeah, but just on that, you know, we've got a bronze, silver, and a gold booth available, all with varying amounts of content possibilities. And I think technically the gold booth is an infinite number of possibilities. So we're happy to work with anyone to figure out what you know, what the desired outcome is, and then how we can figure a booth to make that happen.
Yeah, that's nice, nicely phrased, James. And you saw, I mean, with, for example, EU Green Week, yeah, I mean, there's literally, there's almost everything is possible, yeah. But it's obviously, if you have large scale events, yeah, there has to be a certain level of standardization, and also kind of related to then obviously to the cost. But there's always options actually to add something.
Wonderful.
Good.
Nathan, Michael, on behalf of everybody that's come today and everybody that will watch this on YouTube over the coming weeks, thank you so much. I think it has shone a light in a way that me and my team hadn't been able to explain the infinite possibilities of the tech. So I'm really appreciative of that. And we look forward to seeing you again very soon. You can go and have
Thank you, everyone. And
you can have some breakfast now, Michael.
Thanks, James. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.